All right, everyone, welcome. Welcome to the Millennial Gen Z panel. So to my left, we have Marquel Williams, Anthony D'Apolito, and then we have Carly Patrick. So the reason we started this panel was because these people are incredible, so amazing, and they've accomplished so much. And they are here to talk to you kind of about their accomplishments and how to really make it at like a younger age. Our topic this year is the future is now, so it's going to be very like based on these people are the future, you know? All right, so can we start with your majors and what you do currently, like your biggest thing right now?
You want to start with this slide?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, yeah, awesome. I'm a music industry major at Drexel University. Senior, future is definitely now. We're like, it's so lit. So basically, I'm a creator and director of a reality TV show and an aspiring artist. We've had like amazing opportunity actually this past week to nothing stable, nothing like done, but you know, these are the opportunities that we've been craving, my team and I, so yeah.
I'm Anthony, go to Drexel as well. Business administration major. I'm definitely an aspiring entrepreneur and business person. We were talking about this the other day, how it seems like so much has happened, yet so little has felt achieved. So the biggest thing is continuing to learn and having that day one mindset that there's always a new thing to take in to apply to what you're doing. So I have a media company, it's called Dream Big & Co. I'm the creator of it. We've worked with companies like Coca-Cola, Fanta, Micro Society, a nonprofit that works within education, and we focus on telling people and brand stories. So we're looking to grow from there, but that's my main focus right now.
That's awesome.
So I study music industry and recording technologies at York College. I'm the chief operations officer of our record label called York Volume. The label currently is working on international relations with another student-run record label in Australia and another one in Bristol. And we're kind of just all about getting our community to be more recognized as a hub for music, because there's, quite frankly, a lot of music in Pennsylvania when you wouldn't think about it. So we want to get that music out there, work with the artists in our community, and build that network so that central Pennsylvania can become something more.
Definitely. So one thing that everyone here has probably experienced is like childhood. Like you kind of knew when you were a child, like, all right, like it's gonna be like a little bit different for me. Like it's gonna be like I want to do like this. You have like passion, you have drive. When did that kind of spark for you? Like when did you know like, hey, like this is gonna be who I'm gonna be? Want to start with Carly?
Yeah, honestly, I only ever really known music. Like as a kid, like I knew every word to every song on the radio. Like the second we got into the car, I'd be like, Mom, turn the radio on, and would just sing along to absolutely everything. There was like a short period of time where like I wanted to be a vet, but then my sister was like, you're gonna have to put down dogs, and I was like, I don't want to do that. Like at like 6, and then like it just ever since then, like it's always been music, which like I feel like it's just kind of weird. Like I've always had my eye on that, and it's never wavered whatsoever. Like since, like I literally have never thought about anything else in my life. It's changed whether I wanted to be a performer or a rock star, and now like work in the industry and stuff like that. But like it's always been music.
That's awesome.
That's a great point. I think I'm gonna start more of the macro side of things, bigger picture, and then zone in on what I'm doing. To be honest, most of us at an age, a lot of us don't know what we want to do. It's a lot of feeling lost, a lot of meandering, but you have to constantly be building and searching for that thing that you love, experimenting with a lot of everything. I played sports half of my life. I got to school, I felt so lost. I did not know what I wanted to do, but it's through searching, trying like 100 different things that I really understood that I enjoyed storytelling, business, filmmaking, and I realized that since a young age, to connect this to more specific thing, growing up I used to watch movies all the time. I used to love using the camera, watching TV shows, and even watching like football games and sports games. That was a big thing for me. So connecting those dots, I think the big thing you guys can take away is know your life story, know your history, know your upbringing, so you can connect the dots and really understand that thing that drives you. Don't focus on anyone else, what they're doing. Have more introspection and realize what it is that I want to do and go from there. It's always going to be a building process, so that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go off the history thing. I came from 6 generations of entrepreneurs, so in my household it was a little bit differently. We all lived in one house together too, so it was like my grandparents and their kids and the kids of their kids. So we were all in one house together, raised a little differently when it came to what you're supposed to be doing. It wasn't like go get a job and be safe. It was what do you want? What was your purpose? And at an early age, when you're asking, like the rest of the kids in my family seem to figure that out. For me, I just knew that I was observing a lot and that there was moments that I had high anxiety and there was moments that I was just super out there. So when it comes to connecting the pieces of my life story, there was a lot of things that I tried out at first, but I knew that I wanted to do what I wanted to do. There was no one who could tell me that. So music was the main thing that was the undercoat of all of this. Whenever there was moments of like high anxiety, I knew I could run to music because there was never any flaws with that. It was a thing that I did. Seemingly, it wasn't perfect to do it, but it was perfect for me. Like I executed it to my standards. So that's another thing that I would like pay attention to. When it started out as a kid, I just knew that the thing that I did the best with ease that came naturally was music. No matter how afraid I was to get in front of people, that was the thing that I could do. And it took years for me to realize that I wanted to tell a story also. I wanted to tell my story. Once I realized that I could tell my story through music and that my purpose was to show that to people and to help people with that. That was later on in life, but connecting the pieces to your life, really sitting back and going, why am I here? Looking inward and just saying, what do I want? Who do I want to help? How will this help? These were the things that got me started on my path and just kind of provided, opportunities came from there. It really was focusing, looking inward first. I could not look at other people, like you said, not paying attention to other people. That if you want to know how anxiety started, it was paying attention to other people. But there was something to learn from every single person. Whether I looked up to them or down on them, there was something to like learn, and then eventually it just became that everyone was like a mirror, and that we're all learning from each other. So definitely pay attention, be observational, and figure out what your individual purpose is first. Is what I would say. Yeah.
To like kind of bounce off of that too, like at least for me, like when I was a kid, I tried so hard to like write music and like be a songwriter and like work in that aspect of the industry, and I could not do it for the life of me because I was so concerned about how other people were writing their music and the processes that they were going through. And so that's what brought me to the idea of, well, I can't write music, but I want to help those that can write music, that can't like produce or like work in the studio and stuff like that, which is what inspired me to get on this degree path that I'm on. So like another thing that I just kind of wanted to say was like using your voice to help amplify others is another huge part of this industry. Like you always have to be willing to work with others and collaborate and keep your mind open to absolutely everybody because you never know what someone has to offer.
Yeah. Going off of that, I feel like you would be best to talk about like Anthony is very good at like inspiring other people. Like that is like one of your like biggest things. Like it's always like making sure that other people are doing like their best, and I think like that's so admirable. Like what pushed you to kind of like do that?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Two, I like quotes a lot. And one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite leaders, John Wooden. It's perform at your best when your best is required, and your best is required every day, every single day. So I think it goes back to like my parents, my grandparents. They're just like workhorses. They work really hard, and they instilled that in me. I think my parents gave me a lot of self-awareness on who I am as an individual and staying true to my values. I just don't see why you shouldn't attack every day with the best you have. Like, what else is there? Really, now I want to ask you guys, like, what is holding you back in certain capacities of your life that you feel like you can be doing better in? Like, there's so many, yeah. Do you ever, that's it. And I think a lot of the things I try to inspire people off of are the questions I ask.
Yeah.
You know, like, what can you be doing better in this area of your life? What are you lacking? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Yeah.
And that's something you can just think about. Like,
Yeah.
you can talk about that with other people, but really at the end of the day, you only answer to you. So,
And yeah, so, and the reason I started my company is because I truly love people's stories. I started this thing 2.5 years ago as just a brand and a podcast. And it was just me like in the library in like a studio by myself recording with a Yeti mic. Actually, it was like a $20 mic I bought off Amazon. And it was just a love for telling people stories and also learning about their journeys. And I think so much people have so much to offer. We all have different skills and backgrounds that we can really amplify who it is that we are. And in so many different ways, you can help people because of who you are as an individual. Like our slogan as a company is improve yourself, impact lives. If you focus on yourself, you're going to create that ripple effect outward. So at the end of the day, I think I'm inspired because I know my story and I want to continue to spread that light. And everyone else has that same thing. They really do. You guys all do. You just need to really amplify, and that's why our company, we want to help amplify people's stories and not just do like a one-hit spotlight or a one-hit story.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Do you think that there are certain age limitations on certain goals, or do you think no matter what age you are, you can do anything?
can't
I
drink.
think if you're good enough, you'll be able to do it.
Can't drink for 21.
Like,
Yeah, sure.
we just had at York, we had some people come in for like a women in the music industry, and something we really talked about was this industry is run by old white men, and it kind of sucks for not just like people that are like in minority groups, but also young people, because they are like the gatekeepers to this industry. But I feel like our generation is breaking down those walls and saying, I'm good, I'm working, and you will listen, I will make you. So like we're just in this process of there shouldn't be an age restriction to the industry, and like if you have good work, that should be put out, and it should be the work value, not the age. And so, but our generation is the one that's kind of coming in and trying to break that through that glass ceiling.
Do you guys feel that? Like, do you guys feel some kind of like age limit on yourselves that like for some reason you can't do something because of how old you are right now and what's expected of you right now? Whether that be your parents, you're in school right now and you're this age, so you have to be in school right now because of this age, or just any expectation you put on yourself. Do you guys feel some kind of limitation there because of your age? Break that, man. That is such an illusion. Such an illusion, dude. Like any, oh my goodness. We could go on a tangent about that, for real. But like
100%.
that's,
I agree too. I think action at the end of the day is the thing that you can't really judge anything by. It's like the equalizer.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like what are the things that are happening to show your results? Everything else in between doesn't really matter.
this is probably like a good thing for that. When I first went to college, I had secretly like confessed to myself that I was gonna go in to do music. But to the rest of the world, to my family, and to my parents, I was going to be a lawyer. And it wasn't until like maybe 3 months before I left and I graduated, got my degree, and was like, got my degree from high school, and was like, all right, and I'm actually going to school for music industry, and I'm going to Drexel. And they let me do the whole process by myself. Applications, that's the kind of family we were, just take care of it. And they were like, and you're not going for law school anymore. And I was like, nah. And they're like, well, you know that we can't support that until we see something. And I was like, absolutely. Because action is the drive. So it wasn't until I started making my own moves, and I sang with like White Clef, I met Walshy Fire, started putting out tracks, started doing all these things by myself because I knew that the only way that I would get approval amongst the masses, and this was the wrong focus at the time, but it was something that I needed to do. I needed to take action at this time. Was just to go out and do it. And if I was like, well, I need to get this grade done right now, and I have to pass this test, and I have to study right now so I can pass this test. And I was like, well, why do you want to pass that test? Because I want that degree. Well, why do you want that degree? Because I want to impress my parent. I don't know why I want that degree. I don't know why I want to pass that test. Well, why do you want to like make that track? Because I want to make this music and I want to tell my story and I want to yada and I want to do this and then this and this. Oh, so you know what you want to do here. So take the actions to facilitate that. And the rest, my parents now are looking at me like, when did all of this blow up for you? When they're the main ones by my side right now, giving me, they couldn't give me money before because they weren't sure about the vision. Once they saw that I was sure about the vision, that's when they were there to support me. Once they saw that other people were sure about the vision before they were sure about the vision, they were like, what? They looked at themselves like, what could I be doing as a parent now to help? And I never once judged them. They never once judged me. There's a certain amount of respect that you have to have for these people who have been around the sun twice as many times as you. They have a lot more experience. But you have to understand that you're completely new in this whole place. You've got completely new experiences that they've never had. You have to take that and you have to move on that action. You really do have to move on that action if you want to see any change. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing what everyone told you your whole life, and nothing will change. And you're right. Whatever they said that will happen because they told you what to do. You did that. Whatever they said is going to happen when you do that probably will happen, and then some, maybe.
Yeah, like my mom always tells me, she's like, there's nothing that you can do, Carly, that I haven't already done. And I'm just like, that is a load of horse crap. I'm like, we live such different lives. Because like my family, we're not entrepreneurs. We don't, like my parents have not done any of that. My mom's like a legal assistant. My dad's a forklift technician. And my sister's a pricing analyst. Like literally no one else in my family has ever gone down this path before. So it's like the idea of like, when you are sure of yourself and you are sure of what you want to do and what you're confident in, go for it and don't let a damn person hold you back. Like,
Absolutely.
Burn the boats.
100%.
yeah.
100%. I don't think I've ever related to anything more than that. Like, yeah, 100%. What persuaded you to go to the college that you are at currently?
I was really struggling looking at colleges because I was like completely and utterly panicking. I was like, this is a new chapter in my life. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't really want to do this because I don't know how to, so I'm just gonna not do anything. And I was just kind of sitting and procrastinating on it because I was so unsure. And the colleges I would pick was like, oh mom, I kind of want to go there. She was like, yeah, there's $60,000 a year. You're not going there. And like she even trashed one of my applications to go to Ithaca because she was like, you're not going there. It's too expensive. And we found your college, and I was like, oh look, they have the major that I want. And then I found them all myself, and then my mom also found your college on her own time too. And it was like the one college that we agreed on that had the major that I wanted, because my mom's already unsure about me going into music and doing all of that stuff. But then when we like kind of found your college, I went and they had an audition process, which the other school I was looking at didn't. So I was like, they're serious about this and they want to do something. So I was like, sign that check to sign that deposit to go there, because it's not too far from home. It has what I want. It makes both me and my mom happy for me to be here. So
Definitely.
If you want to touch on it, I'm not the best person to ask about this. I didn't do the best job with applying to schools. I think if the universe sort of helped me out a lot, and I ended up at Drexel for the right reasons. I think the biggest thing was just Philadelphia. I liked it for that area, and I just made sure my values aligned with what they had. The biggest thing Drexel has too is this co-op program. You get a year and a half of experience outside of school because you go through three cycles of co-op, or 4 or 1. If you have a 4-year or 5-year track, those are appealing. But at the end of the day, I would pass it to Marquel because I'm not the best to give advice about that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to go to school. Like when I realized I was going to be that there was going to be my path, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do music and leave school entirely and just not do anything, not going to apply, and we'll see what happens. Anyway. And then we were eating lunch by my school that I go to now, and my mentor was like, you know about the music industry program that they have here? Because I told him that, I was eating lunch with my mom and him, and I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm either not going to go to school or I'm going to go to school for music. And my mom was like, yeah, he's trying to figure it out. She's supportive but observational, so he's like, he's trying to figure it out right now. And he was like, the music industry program over here at Drexel is number 3 in the nation, and that they have a co-op program, and that you can go for 2 summers in a row for 4 months. You can go anywhere in the world and gain experience. And I was like, if I go to school, it's going to be for connections. And he was like, yeah, well, this is the place that you want to go because all of the professors in the music industry program work with real artists, 21 Savage, Shawn Mendes. Like, they work with these guys real time. So I was like, okay, I might go. And then I only applied to 2 places, UMD, which is my state school, and Drexel, because I was like, may have like the opportunity that I need. What he said about like the universe lining things up, that's pretty much the case. I'm very much like go with the flow of things and try not to fight too hard, especially if something's calling. And as he was talking about Drexel, something was resonating. Again, I'm probably gonna say this a lot. Looking inward is like the key to all of this. The whole plan is inside of you. You probably know, like you probably haven't pieced it together yet, but it's there. It's inside of like all of us. So he was talking about it. I was like, what do I need? I need music. I need connections. I need opportunity. And those are the 3 things that he said: music, connections, and opportunity. So I was like, all right, what's the only thing stopping me from going to school? My like huge disdain for the education system. I was like, yeah, well, you can get over that because you can learn. You can always continue to learn no matter where you are. And yeah, so that's why I chose Drexel.
Yeah, I think a good point of that is setting your intention. Like, what's your purpose for doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
It's like your plan of preparation, but also going with the flow. I think one thing I really want to talk about, I'm not the best person to ask for this because I wanted to go to West Point. I played sports all my life. I was like, I'm a military guy. I was going to go to Norwich to play football, military academy. I did not like it. It was in Vermont, snowing all the time. Not me. I applied to West Point, ended up not getting a nomination from the congressman. So at that point I was beaten down, I was crying. I was like, what do I do? And I applied to a dozen schools, only got into Drexel. And I thought Drexel was my like safe school. Ended up being my only school. So I ended up visiting Drexel with my mom. And it was just a lot of things like clicked, and I just knew I had to be there. So there's a great quote, and I'll bring up the quotes again. It's, be committed in your decision, but be super agile in your approach.
Yeah.
You're gonna bounce around, but
try my hand in touring and working around. In the business world, like there's so many things. In the creative world, there's so many things I want to do. So having like goals and aspirations, these are important things. I don't want to be like, well, don't have any goals. Life will provide everything for you. No, have something to like work towards. You may find that thing that you were working towards will lead you towards what you're supposed to be doing. You may find that the thing that you were working towards was what you were supposed to be doing. But definitely set up these goals around and have aspirations everywhere. Like I think that's what keeps like human beings like moving forward and keeps them going, keeps them like a vision, something to look forward to. Without goals, I mean, you're kind of floating wanderously in like this ocean,
And I think it's good to like have like specific goals. Like I want to have this specific job, which that's a great goal to have, but also just like keep your mind open to the possibility of change because it will come. And if you're not ready for it, it will punch you in the face.
Seriously.
So just be ready for what can come. And one of our professors at York always says, luck favors the prepared. So be ready for what life can throw at you.
100%. What does the phrase "the future is now" mean to all of you? Enough?
I'm thinking about it a lot. So
Really? I know I was on the phone with you when I started playing the conference. I called Anthony and I was like, "This is the theme I'm thinking of." He's like, "People will come just for that." Like he's like, "That's awesome because it's true." Like I feel like the future, like we are like the future. Like the phrase started as "we are the future and the future is now," which I still think pertains to this especially since like we have such young people sitting here and like still accomplishing things and still getting like using their drive every single day. I think that's incredible. So what does that like personally mean to you?
I feel like it just means that our generation will dismantle this world from the inside out, whether it's ready for it or not.
That's a good thing.
Like we're coming, and the change is coming, and we will rearrange this world by every single brick if it takes that to form the world that we want for ourselves and our children and our children's children. Because what we got right now is not it. It's we have some really messed up things in place right now, and our generation sees through that. And like the future is now in the aspect of we see through the smoke and mirrors, and we are going to change it.
Here you go.
I think so. Like, yeah, a lot of that is kind of true for me when I hear the future is now. I think about like each of us individually recognizing that you are the change that you want to see, obviously, in the future. That's a huge part of it. Just knowing that if you're waiting for some big type of change to happen, you're going to see it, but you're either going to be a part of that change or it's going to affect you. This goes for all ages. I'm talking from 5-year-olds to, because now, I mean, at 13, you have to think about how you have maybe 13 years left on the earth. And I remember at 13, we weren't thinking about like global warming and we weren't thinking about our planet being destroyed. But now there are 13-year-olds and 12-year-old advocates speaking at the UN, trying to fix the change that's happening now because they realize that they're the change that they want to see and that these older men who are sitting in their 60s, 80s, they've made their money. They've lived their lives, they've done their destruction, and it's not like maybe they don't care, but it's like what they're going to be gone soon anyway. They've already made their money, they've already set up their funds for their families down the line, So it really is us. It really is you, the person that you look at in the mirror that's like, so what change do you specifically want to see happen? And yeah, we are the generation that's breaking down stigmas. We are the generation that's tearing apart ideas and reconstructing them. For those who are, in the older generations, I would say, look at what's happening, and if you want to be like part of this change that's happening right now, recognize like your knowledge and wisdom of what you've seen and what you think is coming based off, because we've been around longer than us. We're the change that's happening right now, but we have no idea what's actually coming. We're in our 20s, we're in our 30s. And we don't know that energy spike that we have right now of moving, we're going to create a lot of change with that. But then something happens when you start to slow down and life starts to hit you. We don't know anything about that yet. I'd say for the younger generation, pay attention to the older generation and where they are right now. Learn your history too. It's basically the future is like everything is right now. Everything that you want to see, everything that you've learned, everything that you're going to learn, like just know that in this moment, the present moment, this moment where you feel and taste and breathe and talk to people, that's now. That's right now. That's the future. That's the past. That's right now. It's all that exists. It's now. So yeah.
Yeah, like I mentioned in the beginning, how important it is to know your life story. I think learning from the past and history and past leaders, parents or grandparents is crucial to build the future. Before I give my answer, I want to know, like, what is your opinion on the futures now?
I do.
Unbelievable branding. I love the name. I can say 100 times, but like, before I influence your opinion, what is it that you guys think? You can just pop
let's
it.
open up the floor.
Just like real quick. I'm interested.
That like if we don't do stuff, nothing's gonna happen. Like we are what's gonna make things happen from now on out. Like here on out till the next generation grows up a bit more.
100%.
Kind of just like don't put it off the side, like get it done now. Like don't procrastinate about it.
100%. Anyone else?
I like the opinion of that it's like a sense of urgency. It's definitely true. I also just think like literally future is not. It talks about the present moment.
Yeah.
Like all we have is now, and like what you build today is what will be achieved tomorrow. So, as simple as it is, it's very profound. Yeah.
One thing I said in my speech today was, instead of like everyone's like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, like do it today because tomorrow is today.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like we should be doing like it now.
Yeah.
Like, cause there's always a reason to put things off. There's always a reason to procrastinate. Like you said when you were applying to college, like there was always like a reason to like put it off. But like doing it now, you can only move forward.
There's like this mindset switch. There's almost no difference between like each of the generations that come by. Like the future has always been now for each generation that's like been at this age. The only difference between this generation and the last generation is that, and all the past generations it seems like, is that the past generations pass down these ideas to their kids, and the kids seem to just accept them and grow up with them. Whether or not they liked it or not, they kind of just, they moved with it because it was what you were supposed to do. There were bigger values at play also, the security of your family, the security of your children. And I appreciate the passion. I appreciate my parents for making it so that I was in a middle class, comfortable, happy lifestyle. But this generation, for some reason, does not accept those same values. And whether it be for the good or for the bad, you have to recognize that there's going to be an insurmountable amount of change coming because this generation is everywhere. We're everywhere, whether it's completely on the positive end or somewhat on the negative end, like it's everywhere. So there is going to be a change coming. The future is right now. And if you want to be a part of that, because we don't know what it's going to look like in these next couple of years anymore, you should recognize that the future is right now. And that's why there's this urgency for us and the kids in this generation.
I totally agree too. Like every generation has had some sort of trauma instilled on them.
Yeah.
And but our generation's trauma and fears are so different.
Yeah.
Like my parents and their grandparents and all past generations have had some sort of war to bond them together. Our generation has luckily never had to know that.
Yeah.
But now we know the fear of not living because of our own climate.
And our own thoughts.
And our thoughts, and because of and our generation is just so, I think it's so different, but also the exact same as some other generations. Like we are out here
Trying to survive.
trying to survive and to break down these societal barriers that people have put up, and we're getting killed for it.
Trying to survive ourselves this
Yeah.
time.
But so did Martin Luther King. So did everyone that was fighting for the ideals in the wars that our parents have gone through. Like our war is different in the sense that it's not on a battlefield, it's in our schools, and it's in our home, and it's in our head, and it's everywhere all at the same time. Like we are consistently fighting with something different that our families have never really outwardly even discussed.
There's a I think it's a Chinese word or something from Eastern philosophy. It's like samsara, and it's breaking Taoism. Yeah, it might be Taoism. It's like breaking the generational curse with what you're doing now, and I think that should be something we can all do, whether it be family trauma, personal experience, like breaking that generational setback that causes your family so much turmoil, or the world so much turmoil. So samsara, S-A-M. S-A-R-A. Yeah. Samsara, S-A-R-A. There you go.
I am going to open up the floor for questions.
So the three of you have all spoken a little bit about really taking the time to, especially you, Marquel, to understanding yourself, as well as you've spoken about taking action. Most clearly, initiative is required for change. I feel like our generation doesn't take the time to understand what it means to be patient. Yeah. With that being said, so you personally, especially Marquel, because you were talking about understanding yourself, how have you taken the time to balance taking action, taking initiative, being proactive with I need to sit back, I need to let things play out before I take action?
Man, that's such a good question, because I was not patient, and I still have to. We talk about this all the time. Struggling with patience. Yeah. And I don't know what it was, whether it's Vine and the 3-second videos and the constant need to or Instagram or slipping. I don't know what it was that makes it, or the streaming, how we binge all our content. But at some point, this generation we couldn't wait anymore. So that's a thing that we all have to fight with. I realized that the best way to balance it was once I first heard that patience was necessary. I could not act on it. I just couldn't act on it. But when I took the time to do it for even a day, 2 days, 3 days, it was damn, I'm able to think. I'm able to think and watch things play out for themselves. Things if I had acted in that moment, it definitely would not have gone the way I wanted it to. Because I did nothing, it went the way I wanted to. So I'd say paying attention to the seasons of when we're supposed to do nothing and then when doing nothing is a choice was absolutely essential to me. I had to figure out when was the time to do nothing, and all you have to do is do nothing to watch that for that time. You'll realize that if you're doing nothing and you feel like you should be doing something, then you do something. But if you're just constantly moving, you don't know if you're supposed to be doing nothing. just continuously wait and observe. If you're in a constant state of observation, if you're in a constant state of letting things unfold for themselves, then you'll realize at specific points, if you're just waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and a consistent state of patience, then you'll realize now's the time to go. Now's the time to go. And then you'll start to realize that needs to happen a lot more than you think. And then you'll be like, dang, now I'm just procrastinating. Now I'm just doing nothing. But like, there is a balance, you know, like it has to be, you'll figure it out as it goes on, but definitely taking the first steps to just wait. At the first time, you'll learn so much more for yourself than any book you could have read too. But also reading was a huge part of that too. I know like a lot of us don't read a lot anymore, but I started just reading quotes. Those got me to start paying attention. Started picking out books that I really, really liked, whether it be spiritual books or scientific books, just about like the neurons and the synapses that fire off in our brain when we're patient, like when we wait. But yeah, just giving it the time. The best experience was actually just taking a step back and being like, let me just try to wait for 2 days and see what happens. And a lot of the problems unfolded themselves. And it left me with, on the second day, it left me with, oh, I can do this now. I can do, like, and there's only this that I have to solve now. And then bang, it was solved. And people were like, how did you do that? When did you get that opportunity? I'm like, I didn't do anything. Literally didn't do anything except watched.
I want to like add to that too, where it's like, even when you're doing nothing, you're not.
Yeah.
You're doing exactly what your body and your mind needs at that time. Some of the greatest advice that I ever received was, if you look stressed out, you do not look important, you look incompetent. So be able to even, like, I schedule in, like, take a 20-minute break, like, in my day, if I know I have a crazy week coming up, because it's like, you have to take that time to be patient and rest your mind and body to be able to continue trucking along so that you don't get burnt out or like create creatively, physically, mentally, like all, like you have to take like that 20 minutes a day to like sit and be patient. And if there's a problem going on, right, when you know you need to take a break, like take that break anyways, and then you will be able to approach it with a clearer mind.
Who's ever burned out here? Burned out. I love it. 100% of people. It's good because you learn what you need to change. I think me especially, I'm just like too much go. But I learned, and I've been doing yoga for the past 6 years, trying to meditate more and journal more. And I think it's a big thing of like my family history. We're very much like driven in that aspect. But like find what works best for you, and do that, and cultivate that patience, that stillness each day, and it can build up from there. Each morning I schedule in a meeting with myself. Totally resonate with that. Sometimes I miss it, and it shows throughout the day. Yeah. Because I didn't take that meeting with myself. So.
Dude, like 5 minutes of meditation. Like
you don't have to start like you don't have to start with an hour of stillness. Like go on a 1 minute walk. You know?
Yo, a 1 minute walk. Your brain like craves it. Like there's
we talked about walks the other day.
There's a dopamine like that fires off in your brain when you get a moment of rest and silence when you absolutely need it. And then there's the opposite effect when you're doing that too much, and you notice that when you're like, now I'm just being like lazy as shit. Like now I'm just like watching Netflix and doing nothing, you know. But you just, if you can take the second to be still, you'll notice which of these things are firing off in your brain and what to do. You actually realize that you have the answers inside of you a lot of the time.
Be observing it. Don't judge that you're not able to sit still or not able to do certain things. Yeah.
No judgment.
Like I put like 5 minutes of yoga in my vocal warm up, cause like then you start your practice session with a clear mind, and you can, as you're practicing your music, you feel more relaxed and you can go about your day. It's such a easier pace. Like when you're sitting there, like feeling your own muscles, feeling yourself. Not in that way. But like, when you're just like taking the time to like actually reflect not only on your mental but your physical state, even if it's just for 5 minutes at a time with really simple like yoga moves or stuff like that, even just sitting like for 5 minutes and just like mindfully breathing. It really helps you tackle the day.
Any other questions that we have? Yeah.
I got a question. So you guys said a lot of quotes, but what's the number one quote that you said yourself? If somebody wrote a book about you and they said at the end, this is what they were known for, a quote that you put in your own biography that you want everybody to know that you said, what would be a quote of your own?
Probably shut up and let me do it. As I said, so many people in my life are like, just shut up, let me do my job, I can do it. Like, I'm capable. It's a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah. Like a personal quote that we've said, or from someone else?
That you said.
That you said? I would say, hopefully this clicks for someone. I said it the other day, I mean, it clicked for me, but it was like patience is your car, and then purpose is your map. So.
That's a bar right there.
Quote. Just like a little quote. I really, really want people to recognize that, like, the answer for their life and their individual purpose has been inside of them the whole time. I know it's so hard to be like, what do you mean by look inward? But just like, take those words and look inward. I think is like the best thing I could say to anyone is just look inward. That's my whole mission, the whole life, you know?
This is purpose.
Yeah, find that purpose, yeah.
Awesome. We have time for one more question. Anyone? Yeah.
So I'm a senior right now in the music industry program at your college, and I've always wanted to do music industry, but I've never known what aspect I want because the industry there's so many options within the industry. So my advice, or I would like to ask for advice on how you really find yourself in this industry.
Okay. Is it like, are you creative side or more business side? Because I was gonna let her feel this one actually.
Honestly, in finding my path, it's just kind of come to me. And I feel very lucky to be able to say that, but it's like, I journal every day, and it helps me connect so many dots in my life. So, like, just to echo these guys over here, like, just look into yourself. What have you gone through in your life? What has affected you deeply and profoundly? What do you care about? It doesn't have to be about music or the industry. Like, what is something that you really care about? And find a way to connect what you are passionate about doing through that. There's so many things that you can do within the music industry. Like, people always talk about how small this industry is, but the size of the things you can do within it is astronomical. So if you're looking out in the music industry and you see like, oh, there's nothing that really fits me, make something up. Do something yourself and make your own path. If you're like, I want to do this, that, the other thing, but no one else is doing all three of those things, it's like, well, you go do that. And you go trailblaze that. So just look in yourself, find what you're passionate about, and find a way to connect it to the career that you want, because people always say, like, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life, so find something that is that for you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Are you dedicated to music industry as you're graduating? You're senior right now, you're probably thinking, this is it, baby, this is the end, time to get out there and start new beginnings. So are you dedicated to this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think the first thing like you should definitely realize as a senior is like this isn't it. That there is no the end to any of that. I mean, you're gonna get your degree, and I know it feels like this crazy point that I amassed all the way up to here, and I'm here, and that leads up to so much disappointment because of all that expectation. So definitely don't think that this is the end. I've always thought about getting my degree as, okay, I got my degree, continue with the rest of the point of my life, not as like this whole school was this whole big journey. It is when you really like think back at it, but when you're living on a day-by-day basis, try not to think of it like that. Try to think of it as, the next day. What do I want to do today? Like, what do I want to do tomorrow and the next day? You have so many weeks, we're assuming, you have so many weeks of your life left to live. And so like if you're just with each of the weeks that you have, especially if you're trying to figure out what you want to do in the industry right now, just like plan out a new thing to explore within the industry that week. Like if next week you start off like Monday, you're like, I think I want to like look into touring. Tell yourself, all right, if I really want to look into touring, like 5 hours, I'm gonna do 5 hours of touring research this week, online on the internet. I'll see if I like that at all. If I liked doing it, I'll take the steps to meeting people and contacting people. If I hated doing that, what's the next one? PR and management, or Marketing, next one, next week. And you'll realize that like after four weeks, you probably already figured out what it is you wanted to do. And if you're still searching through the music industry after, 10, 11 weeks, maybe music industry isn't where you really want to be if you haven't found out anything in there. But literally taking the hours, like people literally don't take like consecutive hours in a week sometimes to do stuff. I realize like that's what you do when you research. That's what we do when we want to write a paper and the time frame that's given to us. If you really feel like there's a sense of urgency, then give yourself a little bit of a time frame. All right, I need 6 hours this week on this specific topic. If I can't do 6 hours of this topic, it's probably not what I really want to be doing. And just move forward, and then you'll find, when you find the one you actually liked, you'll find that you're just doing a lot more, and you're going to start meeting people, you're going to start reaching out to them. Also internships, like if you're coming out of school right now, just go and apply for all the possible internships. Recognize that the ones that you get are possibly the ones that you like are supposed to be at, and that the one you end up at is the one you're supposed to be at in that time and place, and then just learn from there. And the next one, and keep going. You got all this time. Supposedly to do all this stuff. So keep exploring until you figure out exactly what it is that you want to be doing, or where you just want to be.
Like Mark, you just got an internship in Hershey. Like, go and do it. And if you come out of it, it's just like you either know if you like it or you don't. And while you're there, if you're like, I don't know if I like this, speak to whoever's you're working with and just be like, I want to do something else and make it work. Just be outgoing and things will come to you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so